The humiliation began long before she ever stepped into that dimly lit restaurant. For most of her life, quiet, gentle Mara Quinn, a shy deaf girl living in Portland, Oregon, had learned to move through the world softly, carefully, always afraid of taking up too much space. But nothing prepared her for the cruelty of that night. The night her classmates set her up on a blind date as a joke, laughing behind their screens, waiting for her confusion, her hurt, her silence. They thought it would be funny. They thought she wouldn't fight back. They thought she was too timid, too broken, too different to matter. But they weren't ready for who walked through the doors to meet her, nor the storm he would bring with him. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything. Mara arrived early, sitting alone at the corner table, nervously smoothing the edges of her notebook, the notebook she used to communicate with strangers when her lip reading felt uncertain. She wore a simple blue dress, her brown hair pulled back, and her hearing aids tucked behind trembling ears. She didn't go on dates. She didn't trust easily. But when one of the girls in her class insisted she knew the perfect guy and practically begged her to give it a try, loneliness nudged her into saying yes. After all, it felt good to be wanted, even if only for a moment. The restaurant buzzed with evening chatter, clinking glasses, and warm lighting that made everything look softer than reality. Mara sat with her palms clasped tightly, rehearsing how she'd smile when he arrived, how she'd explain that she was deaf, how she hoped he wouldn't pity her. She had been pitied enough times to last a lifetime. Across town, Grant Lawson, a 38-year-old single dad and CEO of one of Portland's rising tech companies, parked his car with a sigh. His assistant had apparently coordinated this much-needed blind date to pull him out of the loneliness he'd lived in since his wife passed 3 years ago. He didn't want to go. He didn't trust dates arranged behind his back. But something in him, maybe guilt, maybe exhaustion, maybe the numbness of a man who had forgotten how to hope, pushed him forward. He entered the restaurant, running a hand through his dark hair, his deep-set eyes scanning the room for the mystery woman. When he turned toward the corner, he saw her, not the girl he expected, not glamorous, not overly dressed, not loud. She was small, nervous, and staring at her hands as if they were a puzzle she didn't understand. But something about her, her stillness, her innocence, pulled him in. He approached, and she looked up, startled. Grant spoke, and when she didn't respond right away, confusion crossed his face. Then she lifted her notebook and wrote a simple line, "I'm Mara. I'm deaf. I read lips, but writing is easier. Thank you for coming." Grant blinked in surprise, reading the words twice, then sat down carefully like he didn't want to break something fragile. And unexpectedly, he smiled. A real smile. The kind he hadn't felt in years. As the minutes passed, something rare unfolded between them. He started writing too, scribbling awkward jokes and little notes that made her shoulders shake in silent laughter. She told him about art school, about her love for sketching city skylines, about her difficulty fitting in with classmates who whispered when they thought she couldn't see. He told her about his daughter, Hazel, a bright 9-year-old who drew butterflies on everything she owned. Their connection felt effortless, like two quiet souls slowly learning they no longer had to be alone. But miles away, in a group chat filled with heartless emojis and cheap thrills, her classmates waited. They had sent her there expecting the date to never show, expecting Mara to sit alone for hours until she realized the truth. They had no idea who they'd messed with. A waiter passed their table and Grant caught a glimpse of their reflections in a nearby mirror. Mara's shy smile, the way she fiddled with her pen, the warmth spreading through her delicate expression. Something inside him shifted, something protective, something fierce. He excused himself briefly to the restroom, but when he passed the bar, he overheard the bartender muttering to a coworker. Apparently, a group of college students had called earlier, giggling, breathless, bragging that they were sending the deaf girl from class on a prank blind date. Grant froze. Fire roared through him. He left the restaurant, stepping into the cool night air. And then he saw them, Four students across the street, hiding behind a car, phones out, waiting for the moment Mara would break. But she didn't break. Grant did. He strode toward them, tall, intimidating, every inch the CEO who commanded boardrooms and billion-dollar negotiations. The students shrank back instantly. He demanded to know why they did it. Their laughter died in their throats. They tried to shrug it off. Just a joke. She's weird. She never talks. But Grant's voice became steel, powerful enough to slice through their excuses. He told them exactly who they had hurt. Exactly what cruelty was, exactly how small they looked in the shadow of the girl they mocked. And then he said something that left them speechless. He told them he was staying, not for a pity date, not out of obligation, but because Mara was worth more than they could ever understand. He walked away, leaving the stunned students behind, their smirks wiped clean, their arrogance swallowed by shame. Back inside, Mara sat alone, unaware of what was happening outside, unaware of the battle that had just been fought for her. When Grant returned, he didn't tell her. He didn't want to taint her heart with their ugliness. Instead, he focused on her, gently, fully, sincerely. For the rest of the night, something beautiful grew. She painted stories on paper with her pen, and he painted hope back into her with his presence. When the evening finally ended, Grant walked her outside, hands in his pockets, breath visible in the cool air. Mara wrote one more message in her notebook. "Thank you for seeing me." He pointed to his heart, then to her, then placed his palm gently over hers, allowing sincerity to speak where words couldn't. The next day, the story could have ended like most fleeting encounters do. But Grant didn't let it. He texted her. Long, thoughtful messages, each one showing he had learned the basics of American Sign Language overnight. Not perfectly, but enough to tell her that she mattered, enough to say he was trying for her. Weeks passed, then months. Mara met Hazel, the cheerful little girl who tugged on her sleeve and asked in slow, careful signs if she liked butterflies too. And as the bond between the three deepened, the weight inside Mara, the years of isolation, ridicule, and invisible wounds began to lift. But life always throws one final test. One evening, at a public art showcase where Mara's paintings were displayed for the first time, those same classmates appeared. She froze the moment she saw them, her breath catching in her throat, her fingers trembling around the strap of her sketchbook. Their whispers stung like needles, the memories flooding back. Grant noticed instantly. He walked to her side, placed his hand on the small of her back, and positioned himself protectively between her and the people who once laughed at her pain. Then, without raising his voice, he addressed the visitors around them, directing their attention to Mara's artwork, praising her talent, explaining the depth behind every stroke, every color, every silence she had survived. People applauded. People admired her. People saw her. And those classmates saw exactly how wrong they had been. That night, Mara sold every piece she had displayed. She cried quietly in Grant's arms, overwhelmed by the validation she had never received, by the love she never thought she deserved. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps more people find these emotional, inspiring stories. Before we end, please comment below. Kindness changes everything. It reminds someone out there that compassion still matters. And as Mara walked out of the gallery hand in hand with Grant and Hazel, her future finally felt possible. Bright, warm, and full of the love she once believed would never be hers.